Hello, my name is Wolke Dijkstra. In this tutorial we will be using an XML that we will import and with LDX, and we will be using Spring Data Persistency Framework with Mongo to store the XML as JSON in the Mongo database. So there will be one additional part in this tutorial that we need to go through, and that is we will be using an example for which we do not have the XSD. So in order to get the XSD, we need to generate it from XML, and we will just look at that step as well because it might come in handy. We will be looking at an XML from disk aux, which is the releases XML. First, let's start with having a look at the XML. I've prepared a fragment, a sample of the XML here. And you can see there's an outer container releases, which contains all the inner release elements. Each release has, it's rather nested. There are containers with artists, extra artists, labels, formats. There's a lot of stuff in there, and all of that we are going track list also, and all of that we are going to see in our Mongo database. So that's good. But first we need to, of course, generate an XSD based on this XML. The service that I recommend for that is this service here. It's DevUtils Online, and you can easily find it by just looking for XML to XSD or XML XSD generator or whatever, and there you will see in one of the first links you will see DevUtils Online, and this is the preferred one, and the reason is that it allows you to do very smart generation of XSD. There's a couple of choices here. I would go for the Venetian blind design, which is a very nice way of generating XSD. It's not too deeply nested like the Russian door, but it's also not flattened out like the salami slice. So it's a nice middle ground here. So basically you paste in the XML and you generate the XSD, and then it will appear here, and you can just copy and paste that into a new document and save it as an XSD document. I already did that. I already prepared it, and the reason why is that it takes about a minute to do that, because I've made a fairly a big chunk of a fairly big sample. I think that is a bit over the top anyway. It could have been much smaller, but on the other hand, you need to be careful with small samples, because there's no guarantee, of course, that optional elements will appear in your XML. So for that reason, it's much better to take a larger sample rather than a smaller sample. Okay, so we can now go to the next step, move onwards to the next step, and that is we need to generate the source code. Well, before doing that, I think it's a good idea to have a look at this directory here that I set up. It's the disk-aux directory, and as usual we do have a couple of subdirectories here: the conf, the input, properties, and schema. The configuration contains the configuration for the code generator. So it instructs the code generator how we want it to generate the code. The input obviously is the XML. The properties is used for the runtime. In this particular case, well, why not have a look at it immediately? In this particular case, we have an outer container releases, which is of not much interest. So we're not going to process that, but we are going to process the release within releases. And we are going to detach that from its parent. And the reason why is that there may be quite a few of them. Actually, I've seen an XML from Discogs containing 7 million releases. So that is release elements. And that is, well, that is really big. And it, of course, it causes you, if you attach that to the container element in a container, then of course it will run out of memory. So that is why we have detach is true here. Then the next thing here is the schema that we just generated. The schema, well, it looks like this. And you see that it's actually very nice because it has generated explicit types instead of anonymous types, and that means that the code generator can use these types as well, and it is more, as a result, it's more easy to read. Good. Let's then proceed with the next step, and the next step is code generation. So for that, I will be opening up a command window here in the XML, in the LDX root, and we have to use, of course, ldxg.jar, ldxgenerator.jar, and we are going to work with the working directory samples Discogs. So this will be the working directory. This here, -w working directory samples Discogs. Don't put a space in between here because it will not work, as you will probably know. And then we need to put in the configuration file. The nice thing of having this working directory is that all the other path expressions will be relative to this working directory. So that means that we can write here, we can write conf, and then ldxg.xml. Also, what is nice about the working directory is that all the other path expressions also within ldxg.xml will be relative to this working directory. So that means that if you want to move stuff around, you just have to change this here, the working directory, and the other stuff will remain the same. Just for getting the idea, let's have a look at it. This is the generator configuration file. First, you will see here that we are going to generate a package name, com.ldx.discogs, and releases for this module. You can have as many modules as you like, and even within modules you can have more interfaces, more than one interface. So we have one interface here, which is the releases XSD, and as said, this releases XSD and this input path, the releases XSD, is found within the input path schema, and this one is relative to the working directory. The same is true for the output directory. Source is also relative to the working directory. So that means that everything will be found relative to samples Discogs, which is again relative to this path. Okay, so let's generate the source code. Now we should be finding the source code here, samples discogs source. So let's check that out. Here it is. So we have the source code, and now we can start. Now we can go to Eclipse and start generating our project, start creating our project. If you haven't had a look at it yet, I would recommend having a look at the other tutorial about how we bring together LDX with the functionality of Spring Data for MongoDB. That's a very small tutorial. It's very easy to do. It's just actually it's just 2 basic steps that you need to go through, and it's one a line of code that needs to be added. It's an annotation that needs to be inserted in the LDX library. So for that you would of course need to have the source code of LDX. Okay, so that is the Spring Data 2, actually the Spring Data 2 project that you see here that I'm talking about. So let's move on with our little project here. And so it's a plain Java project, and let's I'll call this LDX discogs releases. That's it, and we have to add it to our active working set. Yeah, I'm going to add it here. LDX. So this is the one that I just created, and it's empty, it doesn't contain a thing. Okay, good. So the first thing that we need to do, and that's just well, that's the most convenient way of organizing everything, is converting it to a Maven project. We're going to do that here. com.ldx. Lowercase please. com.ldx. discogs releases. That's all right. Discogs releases with Spring for MongoDB. So we've got that now, and now I'm going to open up this POM in a text editor, and I'm just going to paste in the dependencies that we have on this project and on Spring itself. Let me see, I have it here somewhere. This is it. Here are the dependencies. We just paste it in. As you will see, there is a dependency to Spring Data, which is this thing here, and to the Spring Framework. Save, and don't forget to update the project after having edited the POM. Now we can import our source code from the file system. We go here. You should add the source here and not pick it from here. Now we can, so do not, let's show you should not do. You should not do this, because you get an extra level. That's wrong. So, like this, import it here, and there we have the source code we want to have. So now we need to go through a few changes, but before we do, let's first check that our project actually works as expected. So I would expect it to prompt for input indeed, and that is of course because the main application prompts you for input. Obviously the parser application needs XML to process, and it needs the configuration, the properties file that we just discussed in the beginning of this video. Okay, so let's put them in. So that one is releases.xml. And the other one is the second one is the properties file, which is releases.prop. And if we apply that and run that, I would expect it to print out the class name that it sees going by, and that is the releases type, of course, because the release type, of course, I should say, because that is the one that we configured in the properties file. You see it here. This is the default code that is generated by the code generator, and it just prints out the type of the element, the type name of the element that it receives here. So obviously the obvious thing to do here is change this code here. And what we need to do, we need to process the data element that is coming in. And the data type that's coming in is the release type that we are interested in. Oops. Okay, so we have created a method that will handle the release type. Now we have to actually add the persistency, so we have to do some work on the Spring Data part. First thing that we need to do, we need to create a resource description, and to do that we are going to create a source folder. And it's actually very important to that this is a source folder, otherwise it would not be included in the build, and it wouldn't work. So in this thing, I have prepared it already. In this thing, we are going to import the resources file that sits here, the Spring configuration file, and I will just walk you through. Basically, this is all the standard stuff that you will expect anyway. And then here we've got the bean definition, Mongo, we've got the the database, and we've got a base package where the repositories are. So this package will be scanned by Spring to bring in these repositories. So obviously we need to create this package here. We need to create this package and create our repository interfaces in there. So let's just do that. Here it is. So now we need to create an interface in here, and the interface that we are going to create is what was the type again? Let me think. It was well, I have to go back to see what the release type it was. Now I remember. So release type repo it is. This is the one we have, and this needs to extend the CRUD repository like this. Okay. So it should be like this really. And of course we need to bring in that CRUD repository as well. So we've got everything here. Now, pardon me. Okay, now we need to do some of the plumbing in the releases processor. So we come back here, and in the releases processor, we need to insert some code that brings in that repository and that initializes stuff. So let me see, this is it. And I will just bring it in, and then we can have a look at it. Need to resolve these errors, of course. I need to do it this way, otherwise it's too much for Eclipse to do it in one go. Okay, so we have everything here, and so what do we have here? We pull in the Spring configuration, and we initialize that. We bring in this context, and we get a reference to the repo, and that's basically it. Then what I did here is I added a method for closing the context, and made this public. So this is on the processor, so we have to close that context, and to do that we need to go to the application. This is the code where the application is configured. It's the XML input stream is connected, and the processor is injected here. So because we need to close the Spring resources, we need to bring that in here. There we go. That's it. Let's now try again to run our application to see if it still works and all the dependencies are resolved correctly. Yeah, looks like it. We only get an error. Well, it's actually, yeah, it's an error, but this is related to Eclipse. It does not have anything to do further with our project. It is a known bug, actually. So now the next thing, what we need to do, we have everything set up. We have in our configuration, we have defined our database, the name of our database. Yeah, I think we forgot something. We forgot to annotate the type that we want to persist. So we need to put in an annotation here. I think we should call this releases. So the container is going to be called, the Mongo collection is going to be called releases. Of course, we have to resolve this error. Done. Okay, I think we are ready to go. Let's see if we have an empty. I will just drop this database. So we don't have a related database here, so let's see what happens when we run this. Okay. This is RoboMongo, by the way. It's a nice tool for where is it? I don't see it. Obviously, I forgot something now. That's a bummer. Well, it's not really a bummer. I think I know what is going on here. I didn't save anything. I need to do that. I didn't do that yet. I'm not doing a thing here. So it doesn't need to create a collection yet in the database. They're not used yet. Okay, so there it is. We have the collections in here. All the data is here. It sits here nicely. I would think I have I should have an ID from the release. Let's have a look at the XML one more time. The release here is an attribute, ID. Okay. ID. Okay, I will just bring that in because it isn't, it's one of the attributes and it is not used as a key now. If you add an ID property to an object that is going to be stored with Spring MongoDB, you will see that if you call it ID, an ID property, then it will be used as the ID for the object, for the document in MongoDB. You can also use the ID annotation for that. But if you use ID name, there is no need for that. It will be used automatically. So let's let's do that. By the way, the siren, the signal you hear in the background, it's just the alarm that's at 12 o'clock on the first, well, what is that? Well, the first Monday of the month. I should have been aware of that before. So, anyway, let's put that in here. In the release type, I will just add this ID. Okay. Now we'll use this as the ID, but of course we need to set it, and we are going to do that in the processor here, just before saving it. Let me think. Long, and then it is, sometimes forget these parse long. That's it. Parse long. Okay, so that should be it, and this should be public, of course, this method that I just added. Right, so now it is public indeed. So now we can, let's just empty this container here. Oh, remove all documents. Yeah. So let's check, no documents in there. I'll run again. And we will be having the documents in the database again. But now you will see that actually the ID is used here, is being used here, that I was talking about. That is the Discogs ID, which is the attribute. So it should be the same as the attribute, as you can see here. Only this is string and this is long. Okay, next, what we can do a little comparison of our original data and the data that we now have in the database. So let's open up that input, and we can just try to do it like this. Okay, so we have ID 1, so let's just find that thing. Here it is. This is the same document. And what we have here, we have within images, we have image 1, 2, 3, 4 images. So within images, we have 4 images. with all these attributes in there. Well, let's check a few out here. There it is. It's all this, that data is here. If we go down a little further, we see artists here, we see extra artists, title, labels, and so on. Titles, Stockholm, artists. There's only one in here. The same here, artist. Then we have a persuader, well, and so on and so on. You see the whole bunch basically here. I can open it up in the JSON viewer as well, so that may make it a little easier to see immediately what the similarity is here. Okay, so that concludes this tutorial for now. Thank you for watching, and well, don't forget to visit again for more. Thank you. Bye bye.